What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here with another NFL record prediction. In this video, I'm going to go game by game on the Las Vegas Raiders 2020 schedule and predict whether they will win or they will lose and whether or not the Raiders will make their way to the playoffs in 2020. Will the Raiders take that next step under John Gruden, their first season in Vegas? Can they make the playoffs? Can they compete in the AFC West? That's ultimately the question. Before I do dive into this schedule game by game and give you my record prediction for the 2020 season for the Raiders, Gronk spike the like button, subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this, and comment below your opinion. Let me know in the comment section, Raiders fans, what their record will be in 2020. Let's dive right into their schedule. Starting off week 1, they play the Carolina Panthers. Panthers are a team, I think, rebuilding, not a very good team. I just don't see them putting up much of a fight in the first week. Maybe they're a little amped. It's at home, all of that stuff. And they're kind of a wild card because we don't really know what to expect from them. But so are the Raiders. The Raiders have had a lot of turnover this offseason with their defense, especially the linebacking group, and then offensively adding some new weapons for Derek Carr. I think the Raiders are just the better team. I also think first week playing a basically rookie coach, a coach who's never been the head coach at the NFL level, I think John Gruden is really going to be able to take advantage of that. And the next thing is, John Gruden is going to probably be better prepared than most coaches early in this season because he's experienced, and yes, we're dealing with kind of an awkward training camp, awkward schedule this summer, but I think John Gruden is one of the coaches that can give his team the type of momentum early in the year that they need to be successful. Now, that being said, when we look at this schedule, it is absolutely ludicrous from week 2 to week 9. They play the Saints in week 2 at home on a Monday night, but regardless, they play the Saints and Drew Brees and Sean Payton. They play the Patriots in New England, which I don't care if they have Tom Brady or not, is a hard game. Week 4, they play the Bills, which is a team I think is a playoff team. Week 5, they play the Super Bowl champions. Week 6, they have a bye. Week 7, they play the Bucs and Tom Brady at home. Week 8, they play a very talented Cleveland team in Cleveland. Week 9, they play the Chargers in LA. In week 10, they play the Broncos. This is one of the hardest schedules in the entire NFL, period, end of story. Okay? Let's start with week 2. This is the game I think they could pull an upset. But I will say this. The Raiders are a team that want to run the ball, and that's the way they really move the rock. And they focus on running the ball so they can operate their play-action pass and their passing game through it. The Saints have been one of the best run defenses in the league for the past, I want to say, 3 years in a row. And because of that, and because it's Drew Brees and Sean Payton versus a mediocre to bad secondary that I still believe the Raiders have, I'm going to go with the Saints. Week 3, they play in New England, which I got to go with the Patriots. And the reason being here is it's Bill Belichick. And second, the defense for New England is still elite, top 3 to 5 in the league, and going to be very difficult to move the ball on. Yes, Jared Stidham is there, but he's already had 2 starts, and I think overall, these two teams are pretty well matched. If Vegas could run the ball effectively versus New England and kind of take the long passing situations out of the equation and keep it third and manageable, keep it first down and 2 downs, then the Vegas Raiders have a chance to win this game. And I think they have a chance to win regardless, but I think New England kind of finds a way to pull out a squeaker in that game at home. Week 4, they play the Bills. I have the Raiders winning this game. And the reason is because I think the Bills are a team that I've said many times, they're great versus teams that want to pass the ball a lot. They're great versus teams that have athletic quarterbacks because they have great speed on defense, and offensively they have a lot of weapons, but I don't think Josh Allen is necessarily the most accurate quarterback. And I don't really trust fully their offensive line, but I think the Bills are one of the best teams in the AFC regardless, and great coaching. But I think the Raiders match up well with them because I think they're one of the few teams that offensive line-wise, they can really dominate the Bills' front, and they can move the ball, and I think that will open everything up for Gruden's offense. And then defensively, I don't think you need to be spectacular. You just need to not give up big plays versus Allen and these Bills receivers. So I think the Raiders will go 2-2 in the month of September, which is actually pretty promising considering this really hard group of games. So if they're at 2-2, I think you're looking good. But they got to beat New England or Buffalo, and I think Buffalo is the team that they beat. Week 5, they played the Chiefs in Kansas City. I'm going to give that one to the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been amazing versus the Raiders and have dominated this rivalry for the most part over the last few seasons, and especially with Mahomes. Last year, I think they swept them. Going into the bye week, they then take on Tom Brady and the Bucs. This is a game I could see them upsetting the Bucs, but this is the thing. Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and Godwin versus rookie and a second-year corner. And then you look at the opposite side of the ball, and the Bucs were the number 1 run defense in the league last year. That's why I have the Bucs winning. Week 8, the Raiders go to Cleveland. This game, it's pretty even to me. I could see it going either way. I think Cleveland is slightly more talented with slightly more dangerous weapons at receiver. I think they have a slightly better secondary, so I'm going to go with Cleveland. And I don't think the Raiders really have anybody like Myles Garrett. Week 9, they play the Chargers in LA. I'm going to say they win the first matchup. I'm going to say they lose the second matchup. Let's just go with that. Why not? I think they split with the Chargers, though. I think the Chargers are difficult to beat twice because they have such a good defense. Their defense is loaded this year, and I think the Raiders could beat them once, and I actually think the Raiders match up decent with them, but I don't think they can beat them twice. Week 10, they play Denver. Let's say they beat Denver the first time, and I think they lose to Denver the second time, just like they lose to the Chargers the second time. I think it's much easier to beat the Chargers in LA than it is to beat the Broncos in Denver. The Broncos in Denver are really good, and the Chargers in LA, they don't really have a great home field advantage. Week 11, the Chiefs, the Raiders. I'm going to say they actually beat the Chiefs this year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they beat the Chiefs this year. It might be a little bold because the Chiefs they dominated the 2 games last year. I think Kelsey, just owned the Raiders last year. But I'm going to say they win because I think in one of the games, if their running game is really strong and they can keep Mahomes on the sideline, I think they can win a shootout-esque type of game with Gruden calling the plays. Week 12, they play Atlanta. That's a tough game. I don't necessarily know. That's really hard. I think both of these teams are really, really even. I don't really see either way. Will they beat Atlanta? I kind of almost want to get back to that game. I think they're going to lose to the Jets in New York because they got to travel across the country basically, and they got to play a team that's built to beat them. In their defense is so strong up the middle where the Raiders want to pass the ball down the middle of the field. They want to run the ball. I think the Jets defense will have a good game there. And they have Jamal Adams who can cover Darren Waller. I think that's a difficult matchup for them, even though I don't think the Jets are very good. I just think that's one of those games that's tough. I'm going to say they beat Atlanta. I think they'll be able to go to Atlanta and just be able to out-duel them in sort of a shootout game. I think they're better on the offensive line. And I think if the Raiders can get just a little bit more pressure on Matt Ryan than they do on Derek Carr, they have an opportunity there. Week 14, they play the Colts. This is a game, again, these two teams are very similar. I think they could win this game. But right now, I have them losing to the Colts. That's a game that if they win that game, you could be looking at them going 8-8. I have them right now going 7-9. And that's the way I see it. I have them beating Miami at home because I think Flores' defense is made to stop the pass, not the run. But when you look at the Colts, they're basically mirror images of each other. And I think that game basically comes down to which defensive line can get more pressure on the quarterback. And I think it would be the Colts, who have DeForest Buckner now and Justin Houston. And I just don't know what to expect from the Vegas D-line. I think there's a lot of X factors with the Raiders. I think the Raiders are probably the X factor team of the AFC because they have so many young players that are looking to grow and looking to get better. So if their corner position can play better than I expect it to, then they'll probably be much better. If their D-line can play much better than last year and their young players grow again, then they could be a playoff team. And I think if they get enough production out of guys like Ruggs at receiver, the rookie, if they get enough production out of some of their secondary guys, the Raiders are such a tough team to predict. And really, what's Derek Carr going to look like this year? Is he going to be the same guy we saw last year, or are these weapons going to help him grow and become a better player and play better? So Raiders are a tough one because I want to see, if I'm being honest, I want to see the Raiders make the playoffs. I think that would be cool for the league, and I think it would be awesome to see a Vegas team in the playoffs the first year. But when looking at this schedule, it's so tough, especially early on. They play the toughest NFC division, arguably, because they play the Bucs, they play the Saints, they play Atlanta, which is a good team, and they play, or a solid team, I should say, not necessarily great, but solid. They play their own division, which I would say is arguably the best in the AFC, and they play, team like Cleveland that's expected to be better, and a team like Indy, which is expected to be better. So they kind of got a bad draw with this schedule. So that's the way I see it with the Raiders. A team that I hope does better than 7-9, but that's realistically where I have them at right now.